reflect.
Yep.
Verify this.
Hello, all. This is Ashish. I'm a developer advocate Elastic. Welcome to the another meetup of Golang. It's, I think, a second meetup after the pandemic. Uh, yeah, last meetup was a wonderful. You can go and check in our YouTube official channel. We have a video, and this is also we are going live with the YouTube. And so, welcome all. I think I have a Karan with me. So, Karan, please.
Hey, thanks Ashish for having me here. Hey guys, welcome to Golang Chapter 2 or addition to a Golang chapters. So I'm streaming live from Bhopal, my hometown. Ashish, where are you streaming from live today?
Sorry.
From where you are streaming live today, so that the audience should know.
Yeah. So I'm from Mumbai, specific to Navi
Ah,
Mumbai. Yep.
right, fantastic. Good. So thanks guys for this. As Ashish mentioned, this is going to be live on YouTube. The idea is
Mhm.
pretty simple. We just want to bring in like-minded people like all of you, all of us on a platform where we can talk about Golang to start with. Maybe we can extend to further other technologies as well. I'm Karan. I work as a developer evangelist at Red Hat. I work in a lot of community stuff and do some solution designing and architectures as well. So that's what I do. And with that, Ashish, should we introduce our first speakers, or in case if you have anything else to show
Yes,
or to
I
say?
think we should get into the matrix, guys. This is the time.
Yeah,
So and be casual. We are a developer, and we are not. It's nothing a marketing step and something. Do talk anything you want to talk about. Matrix, Doctor Stranger, KGF 3. These like. Be relaxed and let's have a chat like developers. So I'm introducing our first first speaker, Neha and Shubham. Let me add them. So Neha and Shubham, they are both are the founders of the Keploy, and I think the stage is yours, guys. So I think you guys are better person to introduce yourself. So please go ahead, and I'm pulling me and Karan backstage. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And hi all. As Karan mentioned, we are the maintainers of Keploy and the co-founders. Uh, okay, so I will just introduce myself and Shubham. We have both been, working together for around 6-7 years now, and we led data engineering team at Fareye previously, and special projects team at Lenskart. um, we also like contributing to open source projects. So some of the projects that we have led is XWiki-dokuwiki extensions, and some extensions at Jenkins X. And also, we love talking to developers and testers who are keen to contribute in open source and are very enthusiastic about new tech. So feel free to reach us as well if you would want to, brainstorm around new technology. Okay, awesome. I think my screen is shared. Is it visible, Shubham?
Yeah, it's visible.
Awesome. So, guys, today we are going to talk majorly around, how can you test your APIs for your Golang applications, really without writing any test cases or writing any data mocks when you are writing your unit test case or your API test case, all the end-to-end test cases. Um, so just to give you a background that there are different testing methodologies being followed when today people write unit test cases or API test cases. I would just walk you through different methodologies being adopted widely. There is this manual approach or methodology where uh, people try to generate an API. Let's say you develop a Golang application, it serves at several endpoints, and you try to test it via Postman or Hopscotch or curl, all these tools. And on every release you would try that again and again, all those features, and would see if there is an impact, and I'm getting the expected response or not. It takes time, so that's why a few people automate and write automation test scripts and unit test cases where they um, mention what is a request, API request, what is the response, and they also mention around the data mocks that, for example, I'm making a call to the database. This should be the expected result when the application is taking that request and response. uh, that becomes limiting when you reach around 20 to 25% of automation, because you have to maintain your test cases as well. When you are releasing new and new features, you're adding more ability to the application. That becomes a little bit challenging to automate 100% of your test cases. So it's a mix and match of manual and automated today. There is new methodology as well that people are trying to adopt, which is record and replay, where we think like, what, um, instead of just writing the test cases or thinking those test cases manually, I would just record all of the API calls or traffic that I'm getting on production or staging environments, right? Sorry. So, what you would do in that case is you would record an API call from some other environment. Let's say I mentioned like production, and you would replay it locally on your laptop or your local QA environments, dev environments. But there, the problem is that you can replay the API request, you can match the API response, but you cannot really mock the state where you captured the request. I will talk about this in a little bit in detail. But the problem is that you cannot really, as I mentioned, the mock the state of the production environments in QA environment. For example, databases or your email service or other microservices your Golang application might be talking to. So there, we add on Keploy methodology to the existing record replay technology, where you just not record only the API request, but also the dependencies. So let me get into it a little more deeper. So today, if you want to record an API call, what you would do is maybe in your staging or your production environment, you would say, okay, let me record a request that my application got. Let's say it is get me cart items for user Neha. Your application would talk to, let's say, a database, MongoDB, and it would return a response. Let's say an apple, banana, and orange are present in cart of Neha. Then this is recorded, right, in your record replay environment. When you try to replay it locally on your QA environment, you would say, okay, new version of the application. Now, uh, get me the card items for user Neha. And it would try to again talk to your QA database, MongoDB, and would try to get the card items for Neha. But it would say Neha not found because you're using the different database in your QA environment and the state is not same as where you recorded that API call. So there, that is the problem of infrastructure mocking in when you are testing your applications today in Golang. This is something that Keploy solves. But just to summarize, uh, today, if you are writing automation scripts, it is very time consuming, right? And if you're record replaying, it is not easy to mock your databases and other microservices and dependencies that your application is talking to. So how do you really write those unit tests and API tests? uh, Simple. With Keploy we solve this, that you record the same request, right? That get cart for Neha, um, and you just simply don't require a MongoDB here in that example locally, or any other dependency that your application is talking to. You don't require that because Keploy captures all the dependencies that your application is talking to as well, and create a data mock for you to replay it locally on your QA environment. So in this case, when your application will be served with the recorded request earlier, it will try to talk to a database. Keploy would just return, what should be the mock for it. Your application will think that it is talking to a database, but it will actually not be, and will behave just like what mocks were returned from Keploy and what should be the expected response. And then you can assert, Keploy already asserts that if your actual response captured earlier is same as the new response on your local environments. So this is all record replay automatically and can help you increase your coverage or unit test coverage with your Golang applications. uh, I would just touch upon a bit about the features that Shubham is going to, mention in the demo going forward. And uh, I think data mocking we already talked about a lot. Would touch upon noise filtering. So, with when you're testing and asserting your responses, API responses, then there are multiple random fields like timestamps, random numbers, maybe some IDs, randomly generated IDs, that need not to be matched or asserted. So with Keploy, you're able to ignore those noisy fields when you are asserting your uh, different responses. Also, Keploy has a native Go unit test integration. So if you have any existing Go unit test written with your application, then Keploy works with that, and whatever test cases you captured with Keploy, you will get the full coverage of your existing plus Keploy captured test cases. And we will just deep dive into it a bit in the demo. uh, I think enough of talking me. uh, and Shubham, would you like to just take it up for a demo?
Yep, thanks, Neha. So, folks, I'll show you how Keploy works. So, to get started, I'll first share my screen. Um, awesome. I hope my screen is visible now. Perfect. So Keploy is open source. So if you just search Keploy GitHub, you'll be able to find it. And um, to get started, since it's open source, you can host it yourself. The entire platform is open source, right? So to get started, all you need to do is clone the Keploy's repository and just do a Docker Compose up. So this is easy to get started in your local environments. I hope everybody here is familiar with Docker. If not, if you want to run it even outside Docker, you can use one of the binaries. So Keploy itself is written in Go. And let's say you want to run it in Kubernetes, we also provide a Helm chart, which you can use to run in a more, um, if your team starts adopting it and things like that. So larger use cases. So let's start with the Docker Compose up. So I've in fact already done that. I'll do it once again. So this essentially starts a MongoDB, which Keploy uses internally along with the Keploy server itself. And yeah, this is what the UI would look like. So initially you have two buttons, you have test cases and test runs, right? That's what, right now we don't have any test cases, so we would create them right now. For demonstration purpose, I'm going to use a sample application. In fact, it's also available on GitHub. So if you go to Keploy and you go to samples Go, right? So I'm going to show a Go application. It's using the Echo router and Postgres. So that's why we've called it Echo SQL, and it's a URL shortener, right? So essentially, it has only two simple endpoints. In one, you can post a URL and get a shortened URL back, and you can use that shortened URL to go back to the original URL. Pretty simple. So to get started, I've already cloned it, and I have the project here locally with me in Golang. So Golang is a very popular IDE for Go applications. It's by JetBrains. So yeah, we have that. We have those two endpoints. So if I run the application as it is, right, I can do that. Oh yeah, in fact, I need to first also start the Postgres. So without that, it will not work. So we have provided a Docker Compose for the Postgres instance itself. So let's do that first. One minute. Yeah, so it is started now. And now I'll start my application once again. So now if I have to use the URL shorter normally, for demonstration again, I'm using Hopscotch, another open source way to locally call your APIs. So let's try a post URL, right? So we can post instead of google.com, let's post github.com. We do that, and we have a shortened URL for github.com along with a timestamp, right? We will show the importance of this timestamp later on. It's coming. But for now, yeah, let's focus on this. Now I can get this URL. So essentially, if I go to this URL, it will redirect me back to github.com. So we can also try that. Paste it here. And this is basically github.com source code. Or I could just go here, and as you can see, it's GitHub. Just to add one other use case, I can just remove one character. So, it'll just say invalid URL ID, right? So that's like a 404 use case. Now I can go back to Keploy, and as you can see, all the 4 calls that I just did are recorded here, right? And I can browse through them. So one was definitely the post. So I open this up, I'm able to see the request response. And if I want to see the headers, I can see that. The cool thing with Keploy is this. So it did not just capture the request response, which let's say you could already do with Postman, but it also captured all the dependency calls. And what's special is all these queries, it's not just metadata which is recorded, actual input, like the actual input binaries and the output from Postgres is recorded and captured. So when I'm going to test my application, I don't need to have Postgres running. I don't need to have any of the environments running. So it's like everything is packaged with my test case itself. So yeah, that's the cool part. And second thing would be the timestamp, right? So I was just getting to it. So as you can see, there is a field called noise, and body.ts, which is the timestamp field, is marked as noise. So what's happening here is that Keploy is also automatically figuring out that this field is not going to be same. This could be a hash. It could be a random number. In this case, it's a timestamp. You know that even though your business logic and your data is not changing, the timestamp is still going to change. So yeah, those things get ignored, and they basically are called as noise. So yeah, now that I have my tests recorded, now it's time to run them. So we provide a Go test integration. So Go test is the native testing library with Go. So yeah, that comes natively within the Go binary itself. And what we had to do was, since we are all Go developers and we didn't want to adopt any third-party tooling, we wanted whatever tooling that we're using to work natively with something like Go. So yeah, to get started, you just need to add these 3 lines. It will be basically same for any application, and just run it. So in this case, I'll run with coverage. So now there's also configurable delay of, for example, here 5 seconds. You can make it smaller or larger depending on your use case. And okay, right. So I need to first also stop my application before running any of the test case. So I had not done that. So let's do that. And to also demonstrate this even better, like I said, we do dependency mocking. So I'll shut down the database. Right. So now if I do any of the normal calls, it would fail. So let me now rerun this. I'll run this with coverage. Perfect. So now, as you can see, we have not written any unit test code, right? I mean, uh, you can read online on how to write Go test. So you would have to, whatever we've done in Hopscotch, you have to copy paste everything. You have to write mock for your database queries, and then write assertions. So that's how normally you would write a test case. Here we've not done any of that, and that automatically gave us 77.9 coverage because it's a small application, and all of these tests are manually recorded. You mocks are automatically done, and those are not fake data. It's like real data captured. Like this could be like a user facing application where you're capturing user data, right? Here we just did it locally just for demonstration purpose. And you can also go to line by line coverage because it's natively integrated with Go test. So you get your line by line coverage. You can see what is covered, what's not. Same in any of the other parts. And if I want to deep dive, for example, I do get a summary here telling me how my test cases ran. So for example, 4 test cases, all of them passed, the time and the coverage. But if I want to deep dive, then you can also use the Keploy UI. So the first one, as you can see, all test cases were failed. Second one, all passed. Now if I go into this, I can individually go and see anything about this particular test run. So 1 was the post and 3 were get. Right now, let's try something interesting. Let's try to break the application and see what the behavior is. So for that, I'll just rename a field from URL to URLs, right? That will change the output of the application. So let me run test again. Yeah. So as you can see, one of my test cases has failed, which is pretty normal, right? This is what is expected. So if I go there, and as you can see that in the latest test suite, one has failed. I can go here and it shows me a clean diff of what was expected and what's actually coming, right? So we can clearly see that this is now a change. Now it could be a situation where this is an expected behavior. Maybe you change something to the application and you're like, what, aage se, this is the norm, right? So I want this. This is not a bug. This is something which I'm expecting. So we also have a normalized button, which you can use to quickly normalize your application, right? So now what this does is, if you would rerun this test run, this test suite, it would automatically pass all this like it was doing earlier. So essentially, you updated your test case without needing to again touch any piece of code, right? So these are a few highlights. So I'll just recap kind of what we did. We used Hopscotch to perform some requests. After performing those requests, we had all the test cases recorded. The test cases had request, response, and dependency calls with it. After that, I shut down my database of my application, and I used Go test, and I ran all those test cases. I got 77-78% coverage, and I can also now deep dive into those test runs to understand what happened, what didn't happen, and I'm also able to update my test cases right from the UI without touching any piece of code. And since, like, from an integration point of view, since it's natively integrated with GoTest, it works out of the box with any IDE which is using GoTest. So for example, all this coverage data, it's all from the output of GoTest, so that works out of the box. Let's say you already have a Jenkins pipeline or a CI/CD pipeline, maybe it's Circle CI or it's GitHub Actions. All of them also work right out of the box. So to give an example, Keploy uses Keploy to test itself. So the 74% coverage you're seeing here, it's all using Keploy. So one of our developers here, he sat and he just did a bunch of things on the UI and recorded it. So those became the test cases, and we have not written any Go test here. So all of this coverage is coming purely from what we recorded from the UI, like performing actions on the UI. And to show you how the pipeline works, I mean, since it's open source and everything is, it's visible for everybody to see. So this is the test block in case of GitHub Actions. So as you can see, there is nothing Keploy specific in the binaries or anything. It's just the SDK which is inside your code base. So there's no changes really needed within your pipelines. One change which could be needed is something like providing your API key. If let's say you're using Keploy's managed service, and the managed service is freely we are happy to provide managed services freely to any open source project like us. And let's say you want to enable deduplication features, stuff like that. So you can provide some environment variables, but that's it. You don't have to do any changes or any integration needed with your CI/CD pipeline or any of your workflows. So all of them work out of the box if they already support Go test or they are built for Go applications. So yeah, that's a quick demo of Keploy. I hope this gives everybody an understanding of how you could save a lot of your effort, which would go into writing test cases manually and iterate a lot faster. And yeah, thank you. I mean, happy to take questions or any discussions from anyone.
Right. Thanks a lot, Neha and Shubham on this. This is really fantastic. I mean, this looks like you guys are solving a real problem here that I can see. And with that, I might also have a few questions, Shubham. So I think I missed that part where you. So help me understand how would Keploy, kind of connect with the application? Is there a connectivity between the Keploy and the application? I think
Yes.
I missed that part.
Yeah. So we have an SDK. So the connection is very similar how you would, let's say, install New Relic or Datadog or OpenTelemetry. So you just need to install an SDK. For example, if it's a Go application, you just need to import it and instantiate Keploy, because Go is a very static language, right? For a JVM-like application like Java, you could we have a jar which you can run along with as an agent, and you don't have to change your code. But with Go, you have to import Keploy and instantiate it once, and that should be good enough and good to go.
Okay, so as a developer, I would basically write my so I think you already have SDK for other languages too, like Java and we have for Go. What all other languages SDK do we have right now?
Yeah, so not yet for other languages. The stable SDKs for Go. We are now the SDK for Python, TypeScript / JavaScript, and Java is in development.
Okay.
So yeah, in the coming weeks, we are going to launch that as well.
Yeah, because I can see that this could be extended to other platforms, other languages too, because everyone needs these kind of automated testings, right? So fantastic, good stuff there.
Thank you.
Ashish, you have any questions?
Yeah, just so is this restricted with the HTTP? Let's say if we have seen the mocking the only HTTP API, so do we have any plan we go beyond it? Like, I have written a standalone script and then I'm adding the test cases. Is there any roadmap? Is it in?
Yeah, currently the focus is entirely on APIs. So within APIs, we're planning to extend to things like gRPC or WebSockets. So those are use cases we're trying to extend into. Right now, anybody writing HTTP API or GraphQL, they can use.
Awesome. I think it's a wonderful tool and a wonderful demo you guys have shown.
Right.
And
one more question.
Yeah, please, Karan, go ahead.
One more question I have. Well, so I think Neha or you mentioned that I'm trying to attach this with a real user journey. So how can, let's suppose I have built this e-commerce application that you were showing, right? I have a UI, I have a user interface to that, and what's the way I can, as a QA or as a tester, I will literally go and do the manual login checks, and then I will go and add something to the cart and then do the payments, right? Just to verify that things are working is manually. Is there a way I can capture these manual steps? I think you mentioned this somewhere and capture this manual steps and then let it test it out automatically from the system. Can you just double click on that part again for me?
Yep. So definitely. So when you are doing an e-commerce flow, let's say, you would have, a create user as a tester. Let's say you go on the UI and you create a user, you then log in, you add some items to your cart and you check out your
Hmm.
cart, right? All these
Hmm.
are the front end steps that you're taking, but on the back end,
Hmm.
it's making an API call. And
True.
if Keploy is integrated with your application, all those steps
Hmm.
would be captured as a test case. And next time, you don't really
Hmm.
have to perform all those steps. You can just,
Hmm.
run your application with Keploy test. That's it. All of
Hmm.
your test cases would run with it one by one, and you don't really have to perform it next time.
Hmm. Fantastic. This
In
is
fact,
like
adding,
magic, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Of
adding to
course.
that,
Right.
something that we've been working with now our users is so there are a lot of automated testing products for front end, right? So they would run your
Uh,
web app or a mobile app. You could write a script that okay,
uh,
plus this, and assert this. Now all of those again talk to APIs like Neha said. So what
uh,
now front end QA folks are saying is, yeah, you know what, I need to set up a test environment for those APIs so that whatever my front end script is, it's consistent with whatever the application is sending me from the backend. How can I package, like how can I make all of that self-contained? So can I use Keploy to mock all of that backend infrastructure and package all my
mm,
applications, like all my testing and all the data of my front end along with my test cases. So when I'm going to
mm.
run my front end
Makes sense.
test, I don't need any test environment anymore. All of that is
Mm,
self-contained, and it's very easy to debug. Any changes or any breakage in the test environments will not affect any of the test cases.
mm. I mean, yeah, that's a good use case. And the Neha, you were like explaining that we have databases. The dev database is different than the prod database or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Practically what happens is you have a lot of data in production while you have test 1 2 3 and basic junky data on the test and QA environment, right? And if you work against the same data, you're always going to get work. It will successful, but when you try it on the production data, it's going to fail because of lack of data. So I think the Postgres instance that I think you guys are using under the covers is capturing some relevant data and later on use the same data set without touching the production one and test the application, right? So which
Yeah.
is very neat and smart way to do it. So good stuff,
Thank you.
guys. This is super interesting. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, I should go and
Yes.
check it out more.
It's
Thank
all,
you.
thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Right.
I think, yeah. Any, I cannot see any question in the chat, but I'm sure let's in the future, if we get anything in a comment, we will let you know and
Yeah.
you can directly answer over there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anything else, Karan, you feel something is left,
No, I mean,
or we should
maybe
move to,
Neha and Shubham, like any last word of advice for the people
yep.
who would be kind of watching this presentation maybe at later time. Any suggestion for them or any last advice?
So I would just state that there's a Murphy law that if something needs to go wrong, it will go wrong. So uh, I mean, if bugs needs to leak, they don't need to leak really. But if a bug is there and it's inevitable to stop it to leak it to production. But you can always make your effort and automate things to
Mhm.
make that happen as less as possible. So keep developing cool stuff. That's what my motto is.
Awesome.
Thanks, Neha. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome, guys. Thank you for having us.
Great.
All right. Thanks for
Thanks,
joining.
Neha. Thanks, Shubham.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, guys, let's
All right.
move to our second track, Karan. Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, let's
And
move, Ashish. I mean, this was really
yep.
interesting. Let's move to the next one.
Yes, so we have a Praveen with us. Let me pull him in a stream. Yeah, so Praveen is there and he's from a Red Hat. He's going to going to give the overview on basic Golang types. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think Praveen, the stage is yours.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Ashish. Thanks, Karan. So yeah, I mean, I think I don't have any presentations right now, like the one which Neha and Shubham had, and it was really nice presentation. I was going through, and I think I'll also try to use it, the project which I'm working on. But yeah, so yeah, what I'm going to do in this presentations or demo is like I have some examples like which actually tells uh, what are the basic data types in Golang, and with the examples we can see, okay, this is how it is used, and how you can use it in your code base. Very basic stuff. Like if a person is a newbie completely, and he is trying to learn Golang, and like have a basic understanding around like how the Golang works, but right now in the phase of learning the data types, I think it would be interesting for them. So without any ado, I'll share the screen, and let's see. All right. So before we start, I already have this in the GitHub. So I created a GitHub repository for a Golang Meetup, and you can, yeah. And in that I already have a types. All the types have a sample code, whichever type we are going to discuss in this particular session. Like bool, numeric, and slice, and everything. So if after the session, if somebody wants to try out or wants to do something, they just clone it out and to work on it. So I'll start with the sequence like the boolean, the numeric, array, slice, strings, and struct. So I'll go with the boolean. So this is my ID. I'm using the same which Shubham was using. It's a Golang one, which is quite famous for Golang development. So yes, so the Boolean type is, as we all know, like the in the computer science, the Boolean is like the true and false, zero and ones, and all those things, right? So in Golang also, that's what the Boolean is. How you can get the Boolean values? You can get it with the comparison operator. So and let me just. Meanwhile, you can also see in the Golang the how you can use the comment. This is like one line comment. You can double slash. It should work. If you need a multiple line, you can just use this. Like if you use C++, I think it should work the same way, right? So yeah. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to see what is the output of the basic comparison. And since we are using the format printing, it will supposed to tell us like, okay, what would be the output of the type. So right now we have two values of x and y. One is 32 and 60. Of course, the x and y is not equal to. This is the comparison operator we have in Golang to see if the values are equal. And the output supposed to be what is supposed to be, it should be the false because x is not equal to, but the second thing should be true. Then it's, is it a less than, is it a greater than, is it less than equal to, and all those things. So we can try to run it and see what would be the expected things. So let's see. One second, terminal got hang. Nice. Okay, no issue. Let's go to the actual terminal, which is should work. But I was hoping that on the side by side we can see, but let's see. It should be also. Okay. So we go to Boolean type Boolean. So here you can see the output is what we expected as part of the comparison operator. What should be the value? And the value we are already defined. This is the way in the Golang you declare the variables and assign the value to it. It's pretty simple. And these are the results which we are all expecting. But using this, how you can change the flow of your program, like assume that you want to have a condition which supposed to be according to a specific uh, like value which you want, like if x is greater than y, then only do something here, but if it is not, then do something here also. So this condition here, the the value of x is 32, y is 60, so it's going to be false. So it will say that okay, no, that's sorry, it's a less than. So yes, that should be the true. So it will say yes, x is the less than y. But you can do whatever the thing which you want in this code block, because this is how the conditional things works in Golang. I'm just saying that this here you can use this boolean operators, like, and it will tell you like okay, what's supposed to be the step which the program supposed to take according to the value of it. Not even integer, but you can also compare the strings the same way. So in Golang, the strings are case sensitive. So this I have two different variables. One is foo with capital F and another is small f. So if you compare that, that this variable is equal to this variable according to the values, but it's not going to work because it is case sensitive and it will print out the false. Uh, so if we again, like, we can again do a comment out all the code which is not required, but only the code which we think should be good enough. And no, it's still not working. I don't know how to reload it. So now if you see here in Golang, it's static typely, it says like x and y is declared but not used. That means we are, since x and y is only used in this code block which are commented out, so best to comment those things also, so that it will not show that error. So yes, so if you see here, the foo and foo, it says false because that's what we expected. And then the final thing is the logical operators. So in the logical operators, like the one we have is and, or, and not. So I think this is the basic logical operators stuff, which says like if x and y, if we put x and y with the logical and operator, so if x is true or y is false, then it will be false. So if both are true, then only it will say it's true, otherwise it will always be false. And in the or operator, if any one is true, it's going to be true. And in not is like the inverse of whatever the value of it. And here what we are doing is like this, the first thing is the 17 is greater than 15 years, that's true thing. And in this block we are saying the 9 is less than 8, which is false. So the and is false, which is actually we are getting here. And sorry, here we are saying 23 equal to 23, that's true, and this is false because 8 is also equal to 8. So again, but this is the or operator. So in the Go, if it is or, that means it should be the true, because any one of if true is true. And this is the not equal to, like 12 is not equal to less than 11 and it's false, this then the note will say no, it's true. So yeah, so that's what the results are. So these are the basic things we have in Golang for Boolean. So you can have a lot more, like when you try to explore more things with the program when you do the
Hi
practice.
Praveen, sorry for interruption.
Yeah.
Vipin is asking for to increase the size of font. Is
Yeah,
it
sure, sure.
possible? Font size, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Let me see if I can. Preferences. sorry, not this is the appearance. 1 second, I have to do the editor. Just a second. Yes, should be good. Is it good now?
It seems good. Vipin, please confirm on chat if it's okay. Okay. So, I mean, you can continue. Vipin will, once Vipin confirm, we'll let you. He will going to ping on chat.
Okay, sure, no issue. I'll increase the font bit here also, so
Sure.
that it's easily visible, like what we are typing. Okay. So yeah, that's mostly it on the Boolean side. Then we can move forward on numeric, like the numeric type in Golang. So in the also one more thing in the Boolean type is like in Golang you can actually check uh, any type with this keyword percentage type. So assume that I want to know what would be the output of this particular type. So I can say empty dot, and even the value if you want. So and I can just say the same thing here. Now if I'll run it, um, you see here it says the type is bool and value is false. I didn't put new line here because it's so here. So it's easy in Golang to check the types. In the coming example, we are going to use this a lot because it will show us like what is the actual type of that particular variable and also what's the value. So yeah, it's easy. So going to the numeric. Uh, so yes, so in numeric, these are some of the inbuilt data set we have in Golang. So there are some architecture independent numeric type we have. It's pretty cleared one. Like so there are. So what happens is like if you are using a pre-declare architecture independent this numeric type, then your program will behave same in irrespective to the architecture in terms of the the size of that particular variable and how much it will the space it will take in the actual in memory and all those kind of things. uh, and then we also have like these three different data types which are like uh, it's platform dependent. It's like depend on the platform that we will see right now in the example also. So what these uh, the unsigned integer, it also have like what what is the value and what is the size of that particular variable. So it can have only it's 8 bit, so it will only take 1 byte, and the value it will take, since it's an unsigned one, it's only take the positive integer side is 0 to 255. And uh, in this particular example we can actually see like if we assign a variable. So this is a way you can assign a variable in Golang. So I'm saying that this is a variable a which is type of uint 8 and the value of that is 255, right? And then I'll try to see what is the type, what is the actual type of this variable, what is the value of this variable, and what is the size, like size in the sense of how much space is going to take in the memory. So as per document, it's 8 bit, so it's supposed to be the 1 byte. The output supposed to be, but when you use the uint 16, so it's a unsigned 16-bit integer, which means like 0 to whatever 2 to power 16. And The same is this U32, then 64, and then you have the signed one like 8, 16, 32, which is takes the minus to positive integers. And then we have the floats, complex, and the bytes and runny is a specific one because they are just alias. So if you are using even the byte as a variable, we can actually check with the example also. So if, let's say I have a variable like C is already defined D, and I'll say it's byte and just put some random value because it's a uint 8, so it should not be more than 255. So this value should be okay. And then I'll try to put the same thing, like what is the size and value and the type. So let's execute it, and then we'll go what's all the values of that particular thing. Numeric. Right. So if you see here, the first one, it's a type A. We use the uint 8. So it says like, okay, the type is uint, the unsigned integer. The value is 255. The size is 1 byte. So this will give the complete information of that particular variable. And the same with this variable B, which is unsigned integer 16 bit one, and the size is 2 byte. And then if you come down bit below, it should be D actually. So this is like, sorry, I'll write it. Let's run it again. So yes, so D, as you say, so we actually make this D as a type byte, but since in Golang the byte is actually alias to unsigned integer 8, so it's the same thing. It will not show as type of byte, but it will show what's aliased for, and its value is what you assigned, and size is again 1 byte. Now the interesting thing is here, what I did is in this line is that I know uh, the variable a is uint 8, unsigned integer 8, so it only has the size of 255, not more than that. And I already defined the value of 255. I'm trying to add 1 on to that just to see how the Go react on that, because I'm overflowing the value of what is supposed to be, and then see what's the result. So if you see here, the interesting thing, it says its value is 0. So in Go, if you overflow it, it just says no, it's nothing is there, and it will not take. And this is the runtime. It in the compile time you can't even have it. Like if I say here 256, it will give me the error right in there. So if I'll say this one, it says no, it's already overflow the value of unsigned integer, which is supposed to be 255, but it is now 256. So that's interesting. And yeah. So yes, so that's mostly it. So usually when you code, it's depend on the things which you are working on. Like if you really want your complete program to be independent of the platform, you are supposed to use the very specific types what is supposed to be for a specific variable, and so it will also not overflow it. But most of the times the people are using in most of the program like this, the dependent where what is the value of the integer is depend on the architecture which you are using. And here if you see in the output, the variable C, I think it's a 8 byte because I'm on, yeah, it's a 8 byte because I'm in 64 architecture. But if you going to use the 32 bit of architectures, it should be 4 byte here. So that's the numeric thing. So yes, do you have any question till then? Should we move ahead with the strings? Okay.
I think not yet. I
Okay.
cannot see any questions. We can move. Yeah.
Okay. So right, let's go to string. So in Go, we have two different string literals. One is the raw one, and one is the interpreted one. And most of the time you use the second one, but sometimes you have to use the raw string literal also. So what that means is the raw string literal is like if you have something which you want to put it as it is, like you have some kind of paragraph or something like that, and you want to define the string and the output supposed to that is as it is without any change, so you can just put it in as a raw string literal. The thing is that the way we define it is like this using backticks. So if you see here, uh, say hello to Golang, it's backtick here both, and it will print as it is when you are going to run this program. You can use this technique for creating the multiple lines of the string without any issue. Uh, so this will print out as it is without. So one, what you can do, there is two way to doing this. Either you can use the formatting where you can use the slash n uh, and then format it with this multiple lines, or you can just use this backtick and start using it as it is. Then the interpreted string literals we are using these double quotes. So, and if you want to use double quotes in the double quotes, you have to escape it. So you have to escape that things with these slashes, backward slash, and you just print it. In the string, we have the string concatenation. So what you can do is like you want to join different string, you can just use plus signs. I think it's the same like we used to do in the Pythons also. So it's the string concatenation should work same way here also. And you can actually using the range function, you can actually go through the strings each character by character, and you can print it. And then there are inbuilt function in Golang, which is the length. You can put length on any type. Like if I go in the length definition, you can see the length supposed to be used on any type, and it's always going to provide you the integer back. So go back here. Right. So now I can run this program, and then let's see how it goes. Right. So what I did is this is the first output where we have like, okay, just print what we put as a row string literal, and then this is the multi-line string which you have here. This is a string on, you can see it's a multi-line string, and then this is using the using the double quotes and escaping it, so that we can have the hello encoded with this double quotes. And then the final thing is the range operator, which we use to go through each and every characters in the strings and uh, checking the index of it, and also the value of that particular index. The interesting thing is that you can see I actually has to cast this back to the string, because by default it should be the integer, the value of that particular character in ASCII. So if I remove this particular thing, it will show me the ASCII value of that particular character, not the string itself. Is here. That. So yes. Now if I try to run it again. Oh, sorry. So what I did is that I changed it to the ASCII value, but the formatting is still $s, so which is expecting the string, and that's why we are getting the error. So if I'll go back again and change it, you can see what would be the ASCII value of H, E, and all those. So to put it back, we have to cast it back to the string, and that will work. And if you see at the end, this 19 is the length of the string, which is, put it here. So yeah, that's mostly string. So there's a lot of things you can do with the strings. So as the more you practice around it, you will get a lot more around it. But all the cool things you can do with the strings. And then we have array. So let's go here. Yes, so in Golang there is something called array and then slice. They look similar, but they have a different concept. In array, it is immutable, so you can't change once you create the array. But the slice is a dynamic things which we can discuss in the slice section. But what's the components in the array? It is order sequence of the elements. Any type you can put it in the array. You have to define the type. So here I defined it as string type, but you can have the integer. Like you can have the type of inbuilt, or you can create your own type, and then you can have that type also as part of the, the array. And the interesting thing is that when you're defining the array, you have to provide the capacity of it, like the size of it in the initially. Otherwise, if you not provide it, it automatically become the slice, and that's what we are going to discuss. But here you can see I defined the size of 3, but I have only 2 elements of in this string type of array. And when I will print the type and the length is going to be the same because I already predefined the length, which is 3. But when you are going to print it, it will only print the 2 element. The third one is according to your type. In the string context, if there is nothing, it's going to be null. There's nothing there. And then when I'm going to put a element in it, like the second index, then the length is not going to change because it's the same thing. And but when you're printing it, it will add that particular string to this array. But if I'll try to do something like, if I'll try to add element on the third position of the index, but the array already size is 3, so and it start from 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So from third, it's always going to be out of bound error. So since we can't change the array after creating it, so it will going to show you the error of out of bound. We will show that also, and that's the reason it's immutable. And we can use the range functions over array also, so which we can get the index and the value of that particular array on that particular index. So let's see, go back here and go to, I think, to define. So here you can see the first is type. If you see the type, it is not showing the array because there's, what it's going to show is that what the type of that array is. It's a string type, and it's the size of it. It's a 3 because it's predefined. That's the array. Length is already showing 3. When I say the print a, then it is showing printing. I think the better to actually see the actual things with using printer, actual value of it. So that we can see what's actually at the. So here you can see I was showing that we didn't put anything in as part of the third element, so it's as a empty string. But as soon as you put it, it's going to become the meetup, and then the iteration is the same as array. But let's try this also. Let's do what's going to happen. yeah, it's already even the editor is showing that it's out of bound error. If I'll go in the editor and check, it says that it's a index 3 out of the bound. It's a 3-element array, but I'm going to put the 4th element, so it's not allowing me to do that, and that's the error, which is like out of bound error. So in Golang, so where we use the array is like something which we know for sure that okay, this type, like uh, we we are creating something like okay, the value of this are the string type, and it should not go more than like 40, 50, or whatever it is, like pre-known the size. If you know uh, something before we're doing programming, then that means it's a pre-known, and we can actually use the array. But if something we need a dynamic things, then the slice is way to go. And most of the times we use slice only in Golang instead of using the array. So now let's go to the slice. Right. So the biggest difference is like it increases its size dynamically according to the requests. It increase the size, and we can add more elements to it. Um, we can actually pass it to the functions and everything. Even array we can pass it to the function. That's not issue. But the biggest difference is I think the immutability part of the array, and it is mutable. You can add, change, whatever you want to do. You can uh, create a different slice out of this slice. You can append to a slice. There are a lot of the operations you can do with the slice. This is very basic things which I put it here. But if you go in the Google, in Golang doc or Golang wiki, there is a complete things what all you can do with the slice. So right, so the how we can actually define a slice and put a value to it is like it's a kind of the same thing which we did for the array, but we are not defining the predefined size here. It's nil, and it's a string type, and it's the same thing. Like I put like 4 element, but even what I can do is that okay, I think let's say 4. I say okay on the 7th element or the 6th element, just random one. I want to have like. Okay, and then again, let's see. I'll use printf. See what would be the element on the 5th position because I didn't have anything there. Right. Mm. Okay, question. Okay. Yeah. So let's try that. You can see index the range 6 with the length 4 because it's a by default it's a 4. But okay, so what we can do is that is expand it. I think I can do one more thing here. So 1 second. I can say okay, A is a string type, and I can say 10 of the cap and slice. And now let's see what happens now. Sorry. Yes, that we are doing. It's still okay. So yeah, let's debug it. So what we are doing is that we are creating already existing string with this is a slice type with the capacity of 10 and the length of 10. Yeah, I think so. And it will give us the type of whatever it is required. I'm not sure why it is. Wait. Now I'm again putting back. Okay. So right now what I'm doing, I have a variable. Now I'm again making it another, like assigning the value to that particular slice. But what I'm supposed to do is that I'm supposed to do A0, A1, and A2, something like that. And instead of this, and this should work. Yeah. Okay. Right. So it is working now. So how I found out, like here you can see when I was doing this buggy code, I was still getting the length of 4 and cap of 4, but I was actually trying to understand why it is 4 instead of 10, because that's what I defined. So I know, okay, it's reassigning the variable which was happening. So now if you can see here, yeah, so what I want to show is, since the capacity is 10 and its length is 10, so I here you can see if I put the values to a different, so the first thing is that the value which you put, other than that, all are the empty string, and it will only take the value on that index whatever you type. The others are again the empty string, right? Now you can actually create a slice from the array. So this is the array, because you can see I provided the size before using it, right? And now how you can create a slice, so you can use this operator which tells that, okay, from second of the index and fourth of index, whatever in between, and using those two is also there. So it's supposed to have 12, 13, 14, 12, 13, I think. What is, yeah, 12, 13. It's not take the last one. So second, third index, and then it will tell you the length of the slice, capacity of the slice. So if you see the length is 2 but the capacity is 4, that's again, you can, if you go to the document of the slice, you can see how it is differentiate on the length of the slice. So usually it allocate double by default, because you never know, like uh, how much the value is going to put. So as a default it will take double, but I think when you are going to put the elements, it automatically increase the size of that particular slice. And then I have again created a different slice which is like 3 to 5, which is the 3, the 12, the 13 and 14. And then what I'm doing is that I am appending the slice. So in Golang you can append to a slice using, if you go on the append method, you can see what it takes is like a slice of any type and the element of that specific type, and then it return the slice. This is how you can return the slice, right? So right now this is what it's doing. The my slice is a slice. I'm going to, so in Golang again, this 3 dots means you are putting the value of that particular slice like a numeric values. So instead of I'm doing like something uh, 14, 15 or 16, something like that, I already have a slice and I just want to expand it. So that's what it do. So it's expanded, and then this is my appended slice. So here you can see uh, my slice was 12, 13. My slice 2 is 13, 14. When I appended it, it has 12, 13, 13, 14, and that's how it works. And in Golang, there are a lot of the use case you are using the slice. You can pass the slice to the functions. You can have, like, as soon as you start with the Golang, you will going to use a lot of slice. Like, need to work with the slice a lot. So okay, that's mostly with the slice. Any question? Let me know. Uh, do we have anything? Okay. So I don't see any questions in the comment section. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with the struct. I create a very small example in the struct. And in the Golang, you can do a lot of the things with the struct. You can even have the method of the struct. So you can have the method for any type in the Golang. So and the type, uh, even the functions are the first class citizen in the Golang, so you can have method of the function type also. So, but the thing is that uh, this is a very basic example of the structure. It's kind of a hello world you do even on your C language or C++ of the structure. It's that simple. uh, the way you can define struct is using this type keyword. Struct is the type of that, and this is so what it's saying is that animal is a type of the struct, and the animal takes these three elements. It can be any type. Right now I have two, a string type, one is integer type. You can have whatever you want. You can have your different type and have that type to be part of that struct. And then in Golang also, if you are there's a way how you can uh, import a particular functionality from a package to a different package. So if you use the capital letter, it is imported by default. If you use a small one, it's not imported by default. So you just have to take care of that. Maybe in some other meetups when we go with the functions and different packages, how to import the packages and all those things, we can have more details around it. But this is very basic, like, okay, this is how the struct works. So this is the this is the animal struct. What I'm doing here is that I'm creating two different variable of this particular struct type. So I have a cat of same animal struct type, and the dog again animal struct type. I have a specification of the cat, like uh, the name, age, kind, whatever. Even I don't want, like, okay, I don't have a cat. I didn't name my cat, so I just, okay, I don't need to provide it, and it will not show. And same with the dog. Also, I don't know the dog. Okay, so first let's see what's the output, and then we'll remove it and see the output again. So right. So if you see here, I use the printf here and printf both, but where here I use the percent has v, and here is only the value. Percent has v actually tells me the actual type, and then even in that particular type, what is the predefined things and what's the value of those things, right? So element. So here you can see the kind is cat, name, and age. In the dog, the name of the kind is dog, name of the rocky, and the age is 5. If you just sorry, remove the name of the cat, it will still going to work, but whatever the default value is, like if you are not defined, it should be that one. So like as an integer type, the default value, like if nothing's type is 0, like, and then the string is the name string. Uh, so that's what we are creating here, right? So yeah, so you can create a method around it, and you can use it with the struct method. So there's a lot of things we can do with the structure also, like uh, whatever things you want to specify. So yeah, I think that's all I had. Very basic things, not super fancy. So thank you.
So cool, Praveen. It was a very detailed session. I think you have covered the very basic things, which sometime in the past I was also wondering what is the use of INT8, INT32,
Yeah.
INT64.
True.
So yeah, it's very detailed. And especially if you are a developers coming from the web background, let's say you are a PHP developer node, so those languages are very flexible. You just put
Yes.
it $a is equal to 8 and it's dynamically assigned. So
Yes.
Mm.
there, if developers come from those background, then they they get confused what kind of the the type we should use. Okay,
Yes.
so I just want to ask you, let's say a real life example, okay, just to make things understand. I have two types of integer. Let's say one is the age, which is mostly is going to like 100 three digits number, and one is a number like a web traffic. Let's say it's going to have a lakhs, thousands, kind of this. So what kind of the integer in such cases we should use? Or so this is just a hypothetical question, just to just to get the perspective in the real life scenario, what kind of type we should use. Okay, and yeah.
So
So
if
this
we
is just
if we yeah, so if we already know, like assume like the first thing you said, I have a understanding. Okay, I have a age which is not more than the three digits. So I assume that the highest one will be 999, right? And
okay,
age can't be negative, right? So
right.
I should use a unsigned integer for sure. Now I
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, my unsigned integer 8 is only giving me 0 to 256, right? So I can't use that because that's the
Okay.
limit. Then I see, okay, what else can give? So I have unsigned integer 16, which is like
Mm,
from 65,535. I can have that value
got
to,
it.
so I can use that. The second thing I think where we don't know more about the size of the things, but what we want is like, okay, I have that kind of a range. Like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
can be maybe few thousand, few lakhs or something like that. So for that, I should use like whatever the max I can use for the unsigned, which is unsigned 40 64. If we really want that application to be architecture independent, right? Uh,
Right, right.
and if because the thing is that and I think I also got that bug like when and it's very hard to debug these kind of the bugs. Like these are very basic
Yes,
things, and it's very hard to know like why it is happening.
exactly.
So I was using like int, and I think somebody filed the issue on our GitHub, and we found out, okay, it's not like the way we are using the int. We are all using the 64 bits machine. Even our testing
Oh,
environment is working and everything is working. Wow, everything works. Why it is happening like that kind? And then we find out, okay, because we are using something very platform specific. And then we change it. Okay, let's not use that for that specific variable because it's going to cause the issue. So these
mm-hmm.
are the things which we should take care of, like from
Awesome.
And just one thing to add on this thing, Praveen. It also helps, improve the memory footprint of the application, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're using those uints and ints and other things, so it also
Correct.
reduces the footprint of your application, which is kind of
Right.
good, right?
Yeah,
So
because when you come from like Python background or PHP background, right, where you don't know
yes,
like what is how the things are stored in the memory,
Right.
you are just
mm,
always going to just type and then things are working, right? But here
yeah,
you
Exactly.
can actually say, okay, if I know for sure my variable is not going to use like 2 bytes of the data or 1 byte of the data, I should use that
mm,
specific type of that so that it's not going
mm,
to
Perfect.
explode the memory also. So yeah.
right.
So very, very good point. I
Meanwhile,
think
I
you
have
have explained. Yeah.
I
Please,
I
please
have
go
I have
ahead.
a few more questions
Yeah.
for you, Praveen. So, Praveen, you touched upon the variable starting with the caps or capital letter variable.
Yeah.
So what are the significance or what is the practical significance of variable
So
starting with the capital letter versus small letters?
so in that's the significance will comes when you are exporting. Like what you do is like you are creating a library, you are creating a package, right? And then you want to use the package in a different library. So you want to export some
Mm,
variables on that package from that the package which you created. So if you are using a small case letter, you can't export it in Golang, right, by default. So your variable
mm,
is supposed to have capital letter. So that's the significance. And in the structure, even your structure, uh, the type name of the structure is the capital letter. Like I have this animal A is the capital one, but
yeah.
the values of it is have all the small letters like kind name is. So even then also these the internal, so the structure types which you have is non-exportable, so you can't use it outside of that particular package. That's how you
Mm,
can in the Golang it actually works. So if you really
It's
want something.
defined the scope, I think, right?
Yes, yeah,
It's
it's
defined the
defined
scope.
this, right? That's
Yeah.
the correct word. I was
mm,
figuring out.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so you have to define the scope, like if they export to the different package or not.
mm,
So yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And one more question on
Yeah.
You have anything, Ashish? I have two more questions.
Yeah.
If you have anything.
Yes, yes. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So Praveen, is there a specific difference between with respect to Golang, difference between a function and the method? Like it is like
Oh,
most asked
so
question, I think, on
so what we
how you define
usually
it.
say is the method is if it is associated with a type. Like, so let me share the screen and I think I can explain a bit uh,
Sure.
uh, more. Let me just again share it. I'll try to tell what method and function is. Yeah. So let's say I have a type here animal. So if I'll create a function, right? With a let's say there is a receiver which I'll say okay a which is animal type, and this is like okay I'll say okay the name of the animal, I'll return it and I'll provide the string. And what I'm doing is that I'll say return what is saying. Okay, so 1 second, because it's the same thing. Return a dot. Um, so this is actually a method. I'll actually call it also, but why it is a method? Because it is associated with this particular type. But if I'll say something like function foobar, and it's just returning the string and return something, right? So this is a basic function. That's also in Golang. That's also first class citizen. Like you can inline, you can do the inline definition of functions also. But the this is what we call usually method, which is associated with any type, and this is what we call usually the functions. Like it is not associated with any types or anything. It's just standalone thing, right? So
Okay.
here what you can do is that okay I have a dog and cat, but so with the method I can say okay dog dot name. So this will actually, since it's associated with this particular type, I can actually create a variable of that type and actually call that method without any issue. So if I'll say uh, let's just remove that and say like percentage s. See, possible formatted. Oh, sorry. And then, so if I'll run that thing, it will say rocking, which is what the dog and is. But if I say cat and it's supposed to be give me the name of the cat, but I don't have any name of the cat, so it's not giving me anything. So if I do that, so it should give me the so this is the how the method works. Like this is what we call method usually, which is
Yeah,
associated with
actually, I was confused between this. So thanks for clarifying this today. Actually, I got a clarification, like a practical clarification to this. So thanks, Praveen, for for
yeah.
enlightening me. And
I
I know
think
I
it's
know we are
I think it's mostly
right.
most of the time it's a language context. Like all the language
Right,
have
right,
their
right.
own different way of looking the things, and in Golang this is how we do
Exactly,
these methods.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. And I know we are over time here. And well, just one last question. What's your preference or between using VS Code for Go development?
Oh, so I don't have any editor preference. I started with Vim
Acha.
when I was doing initially.
Right.
I had the specific plugin in Vim Golang. Golang have a plugin for Vim. I was using that. I was quite happy, but somebody said no, let's try this. And the best thing, my screen is not shared, but the best thing is like in Golang, and even the same thing you can do with the with VS Code.
VS Code.
What I can do
Hmm.
is that like in the string, the way I was showing, like if I don't know what that particular
You're jumping to the
yeah I
definitions,
can
right?
jump, right? Yeah, I can jump to the definition like this
Ah,
append, right? I can just press the control and then mouse click, okay, this is the append definition. I can
ah,
read the documents, all those kind of things. Even in the Vim plugin there is a way, but then you need some key bindings or something like that, which is like okay,
hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's
I
easy.
mean, I use VS Code for my Go development. Then
It's quite
I
good.
also use GitHub Copilot. So you
Oh,
literally
okay.
get those function auto written. So it's like
Yes,
magic.
yes,
Or it
yes.
would be for for
No, but
lazy developers. But anyways,
for the beginner, I will not
but yeah.
suggest to use any kind of like fancy things,
Oh,
because then you don't understand the things, like how the things, like when you start writing something like the function, you can actually go through each and every bits and to understand,
Right.
keep the things in your mind,
that's
like
a good
okay, this
suggestion.
is what is going.
Hmm.
So, and then you can use whatever the editor you want to use, because then you are fluent, you
That's a
know,
good
okay, how the
suggestion.
things
Yeah.
work.
All right.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Praveen, for a great talk and touching upon the basics of Golang. Thanks a lot. I'm pretty sure that this would be useful to the audience here. And thanks again for sparing your Saturday with us. And
Thanks guys
over to you,
for
Ashish.
having me.
Yeah, I think it was a wonderful session, Praveen. Just adding to that, you in a VS Code which you have shown, the jumping on that particular
Right.
definition or these things. So when I started with the Go development, there is a Go doc which
Yes,
does the
yes.
same, and I was doing on a web. I
What
was
do
a
you call
web
that,
lover,
Ashish?
so
Go dog.
What do you
Go
call that,
doc,
Ashish?
Go doc,
Go dog.
Go documents.
Go
Go
Yeah,
documentation.
Acha,
Yeah.
Go
No,
doc.
no.
yeah, Go
Okay.
DOC.
documentation.
Go doc. Yeah.
DOC, Go doc,
It's an
GO
extension.
DOC. Yeah, so it's not extension. I think it's a pre-built package. It's come with the
Yes.
Golang, and it will auto-generate the document by reading your
Documents for
code,
you.
right, Praveen?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
I
you
mean,
have any project, yeah,
whatever commands you have, you can generate the documents using
yes.
Godot, which is very
So
nice.
Oh, nice. Good to know this.
most of the public repository, the contribution, the projects on Golang, they have their Go repository, and where they just does like this same. The I think this editor does just
Editor,
jump on the definition and these kinds of
correct.
things. But it's now come on editor. That is a very good, awesome things. Now we don't have to switch the
Right.
tabs again on browser and this thing.
Yeah.
So I think best things. And I hope in the future we will going to cover the most of the advanced topic as well by Praveen yourself. So because you
Right,
write the
definitely.
session very wonderfully, it was even we can go with the series as well. You have
Yeah, I was
you
thinking
have
like
the session.
Yeah,
very
Yep.
small.
that's a
Start
good idea,
with
Ashish.
very basic, and then
Correct.
have it like
Yes.
Hmm.
So it
there are
was
a
a
lot of
good
things.
start. Perfect.
Thanks.
And yeah, I think guys, this is it from our side. I think we are done for the today. So thanks to joining us. And if you have any doubts, please put your doubts in the comments. We will happy to answer you. So thank you guys. Thanks Karan. Thanks Praveen to joining us. Let's see you soon
Thank
with
you.
another
Thanks,
meetup with
everyone.
another dynamic speakers. Okay, bye. Take care.
Bye
Sure.
bye. Thanks. Have a nice
All right.
weekend.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Yeah.